Well, hello everyone at Ynyshir Primary School in South Wales. I apologise for my terrible Welsh accent. Thank you so much for reading my book. My name's Alice Humphreys. I'm the author of The Boy Who Bite the World. Thank you for sending me these fantastic questions, which I'll try and answer right away. Thank you very much to your teacher, Mrs. or Miss Greenman, for sending them through year 4 and 5. What inspired me to cycle around the world? I was inspired to cycle around the world mostly by reading books. I have loads of books of adventure stories of crazy men and women going off around the world, doing big, exciting adventures. And I just thought, I want to go have an adventure like those books I've been reading. I love reading these stories. I'd love to go see some other countries, some other cultures, and meet new people and have a challenge, try and do something really, really difficult. But the main inspiration really was just reading of other people who've done crazy adventures. How did it feel to cycle on your own? Being on my own is a mixture of lonely and boring and sometimes sad and scared. That's the bad side of being on your own. The good side is that you're free. You can do whatever you want. If you want to eat jam out of the jar with a spoon, you can. Nobody's going to tell you off for that. If you want to sit down under a tree and have a sleep for an hour, you can. You're completely free. Being on your own means you have to make more effort to meet new people. So you have to be brave and go and talk to people. But that's the way you learn interesting things about the places you go to. And then any challenges, any bad things that happen, you have to deal with it yourself, which is quite difficult and sometimes a bit scary, but it helps you afterwards feel quite proud that, yeah, I did this by myself. So I think doing adventures by yourself is a really good thing to do. Next question was, how old were you when you did this? I was 24 when I set off to cycle around the world. I trained to be a teacher, but being a teacher was too much like hard work. Being a teacher is very difficult, so you should be very nice to your teacher. And I thought, I know, instead of being a teacher, I will go and cycle around the world. Maybe after that, I will be a teacher. And I was a teacher for a little bit when I got back from the adventure. And then I decided to try and be a writer and to do more adventures. Next question. Why did you decide to go in the crocodile-infested lake in Ethiopia? And did you really have a scorpion in your shoe in the desert? Lake Tana in Ethiopia is a beautiful place, really beautiful, beautiful sort of paradise lake, but it does have crocodiles and hippos in. But I'd been so hot cycling for so long and I was dusty and dirty, and I guess the water just looked too delicious and I was willing to take the risk. As for the scorpion, I never actually had a scorpion in my shoe, but every morning in the desert, you must carefully shake out your shoe in the morning and you must shake out your sleeping bag quite carefully to make sure no scorpion, or maybe even a snake, tucks inside the folds. So yeah, that's a standard precaution you should do in the desert. How do you feel when you're all alone in the desert for weeks? Well, I've spoken about being alone in general, but in the desert, I actually really like being alone in wild places like deserts, or later on in Bolivia up in the freezing cold Andes. I love being in wild places by myself when the world feels very, very big and the silence is really, really silent. And to try that occasionally, a special thing to do. So good thing to spend time on your own. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes. When you were in Ethiopia, did you really meet a boy who spoke English and spend time in his house with his family? Yes, I did, although it wasn't a boy. I was a young man cycling around the world, and I met a man who was a teacher. He was a teacher in a village, and I was at the time feeling really homesick. I was missing home. I was quite close to quitting the adventure, quite close to giving up, and he welcomed me into his home. It was an incredibly poor home. It was a much poorer home than any home you would ever see in Britain. Really, really poor. But he was so kind. He gave me some food, and he gave me a place to sleep, and he talked to me, and we had a long chat. And he cheered me up so much, and he really helped me stop resisting quitting and going and giving up. And actually, I think the best thing about the whole trip was these good, kind people I met all over the world, like that gentleman. Next question. Most favorite food. Ooh, Chinese food. Pretty nice, as we know. Much nicer than you get in Chinese takeaways here in Britain. Japanese food. Some of it delicious, some of it disgusting. Georgian food. Georgia is a really, really good food there. All the Middle East, Syria, Lebanon, really good. My mouth's watering even thinking about this. Yeah, I think overall, Asia is the best food. If I had to choose one continent, which is, of course, a huge, and it's a very, very big place to say that about, but there's some pretty good spicy food over there. What was your most challenging moment cycling around the world? Oh, I think just being alone was hard. Mentally, just thinking quite often, I'm missing my family, I'm missing my friends. I've got so far to go. I don't know if I can do this. That was hard. It was also very hard. You haven't got there yet, reading along, but in Russia, when it was so cold, it was colder than being inside a freezer for 3 months. That was a really hard period of the trip. Crossing the Atlantic Ocean from Africa to South America, I went on a sailing boat and I was so seasick. That was pretty horrible experience as well. But you have a lot of hard times on an adventure. If you don't have hard times, then that means you're on holiday. So part of the reason I wanted to go on adventures was to have the hard times and the challenge and see if I could make myself do difficult things. Like if you're in a running race at school and you run so hard, it hurts, you're exhausted. But afterwards, you feel really good and proud that you've really tried your hardest and really done your best. That's kind of what big adventures feel like. Proudest moment. Proud. Ooh. What was I proud of? Well, I suppose I'm proud that I didn't give up, because it was really hard cycling around the world. And I'm not some really tough, strong guy. I'm not an Olympic cyclist. I'm not really brave. I'm not Bear Grylls. I was just a normal guy who wanted to go on a challenge, and I just kept going little by little by little. And I made lots of mistakes and I did silly things, but little by little I kept going. So I think just not giving up, I feel proud of that in the long run. Next question. Which country was your favorite and least favorite, and why? Well, I can't really choose a least favorite, because I'm glad that I went to every country. So I don't really have a least favorite country. I think any country in the world is worth visiting. But I definitely did like some countries more than others. It's freezing cold here today in my writing shed in England. So favorite, I'm thinking somewhere warm today, maybe like Colombia in South America, or beautiful South Africa, or even the desert in Sudan, which is boiling hot. But in the little villages, I met amazingly kind people. There's a lot of great places to explore in the world. What did you miss most when you left home? I missed toast, beans on toast, Marmite, nice cups of tea, nice milk. Most countries in the world have weird milk or no milk. I missed watching sport on TV, so I missed watching rugby on television. I missed my friends and my family, of course. I missed being in a comfy bed. I missed just looking like everybody else. I'd grown up in England where a lot of people looked like me, and I was just normal, and I sounded like people, and I was just normal. And suddenly now I was in countries where quite often I looked different to most people. I was in a minority, or I sounded different, or people thought I was weird because I was from another country. And I realized how difficult that can be. Even if people aren't meaning to be unkind, it can make you feel that you don't belong and you're a bit left out. So I found that a hard part of being away from England, which was something I'd never considered before, because that had never been a problem in my easy life before. What else did I miss? Toast. I missed toast. Next question. How many stamps do you have in your passport? Well, I actually got through 2 passports, because when you go to a country, they stamp in to give you permission to go into the country for a certain amount of time. And I stamped through so many pages. I got through 2 whole passports. And actually, that's one of my favorite souvenirs of the trip now, is all these stamps with funny languages or different crazy, beautiful, different writing in different kinds of scripts. So yeah, I think my passport is a good souvenir. Thank you very much for your. Oh, we have one more question. How do you make money? I make my money by writing books. I've written 13 books now, 4 books for children. I'm in the middle of writing another book at the moment. And then I make money. I have a podcast, which I make some money from. I do talks that I make some money from. I make some films that I get a bit of money from. I get sponsored from some companies at the moment. Lovely Out Kit, you make outdoor kit. They give me clothes and some money. So lots of different things. But my dream is that I could one day just make money from writing, but I need to sell more books. So hopefully one day I can write a really, really good book that sells enough copies for me to live on. That's all your questions. Thank you very much for asking me all these questions. Thank you especially for reading my book. And I really, really hope it makes you dream of visiting other countries in the world and seeing what life is like in different places. And I hope also it's made you dream of adventures, maybe on bike, maybe on foot, but you can do these close to home, wherever you live. Go on a micro adventure this weekend with your friends, with your family, with your school. You can find places within a few miles of where you live that you have never been to before. And when you go somewhere you've never been before, then you are being an explorer. So I really hope this book makes you want to explore and go have adventures of your own. Thank you so much for taking time to send in the questions. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much, everyone. Bye-bye. End stream. Your stream will stop immediately and you will no longer be live. Do you want to stop? Yes, I do. Goodbye.